everybody, and welcome to this episode of Infantry Outdoors Tips, Tricks, and Techniques. Yours truly, your favorite disabled outdoorsman. I'm DJ Infantry, back at it again. Happy fall, everybody. Time for the temperatures to cool off, time to get out into the hunting stands, time to get out and do some camping, to enjoy all of the things that the fall season has to offer. But I bet there's one thing that many of us forgot about and most of us carry in our pockets. Right here, guys, our pocket knife. Today I'm going to teach you how to keep that razor sharp edge on your utility tool, no matter if it's an EDC knife, survival knife, hatchet, sword, whatever it might be. Today we're going to learn how to keep that razor sharp edge using a whetstone. But before we start, let me remind you guys, today's episode is brought to you by Grant Herbal Products. Hey, your health is your wealth, guys, so live the healthy life and invest in it in an herbal way. With Grant Herbal Products, we've got coconut water, moringa tea bags, soursop tea, hemp tea, and so many other products. Starting next episode, we're going to be featuring one product a week here, courtesy of Grant Herbal Products, but check them out online at grantherbalproducts.com. Real-time bait, realtimebait.com. Check them out today for all of your soft plastics, jerk baits, crankbaits, apparel, and so much more. Use RTB-trial as your promo code, and we'll give you 10% off just for trying us on your first order. Lady B with the National Motor Club. If you guys are driving and you don't have the longest running privately owned motor club in the nation, well, then you're not driving protected. They'll be able to hook you up with battery boost, lockout assistance, and so much more. Call Lady B today and get all the information you need to become a National Motor Club member, just like we are. And how could I forget our friends at Silver Connections Group? If you want to boost those Google rankings, guys, get your job out there, get your business out there, or even just get a website. Let the folks at Silver Connections Group take care of all of that for you. Now, all of the information for all of the sponsors, as always, is linked in the description below, so make sure that you guys check them out. And as always, if you'd like to become a sponsor of the program, well, we've got a lot of options for you to do that. Why don't you become a Patreon and become part of our family? Help us out on a monthly basis to keep the show rolling and going, with added benefits for all of my Patreons, like a personal monthly letter handwritten for me to each one of my Patreons as just an added bonus, along with early video looks, early picture looks, and more of a day-to-day type of behind-the-scenes look at what happens here on Infantry Outdoors. So check it out today at patreon.com/Infantry Outdoors. And of course, our final way is through generous donations from folks like you via PayPal. Go to paypal.me/Infantry Outdoors and make a donation today. All of our Patreon sponsors and donations are noted in each and every one of our episodes. So from all of us here at Infantry Outdoors, thank you from the bottom of our heart for supporting us. Whether you're a subscriber, a Patreon, a viewer, a sponsor, hey, we're all family. So thank you very much for being part of this program and allowing this program to be part of the world. So guys, today, like I said, tips, tricks, and techniques. We're going to be talking about using a whetstone to get that razor edge, keeping our tools sharp for the upcoming fall season. So let's get over to the table, check out some of the stuff I have laid out for you today, and well, let's get right into getting that razor's edge. Okay, as I said before, as fall comes into play, as fall comes into season, we're all getting out to do our hunting, our hiking, our camping, and so much more. So having our blade sharp and ready to go is an important thing. Now I have in front of me a few of the tools that I use when I go out camping, or my EDC everyday carry knife, which always has to stay sharp. A lot of folks carry a knife every day, but forget how important it is to keep that edge razor sharp. So today we're going to show you how to sharpen a knife, a large knife, and a hatchet using a whetstone. Now, if you've never used a whetstone, this was the way I was taught back in Boy Scouts. It was kind of the original way things were sharpened back in the day. And today, we're going to do different style knives, different style things, but it all ends up being done the same technique. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we have this bucket of water here with us. We have to soak the stones in water for a few minutes, let all the bubbles come out, and let it absorb the water before we start sharpening. So, what I'm going to show you guys is we have two different types of sharpening stones. Okay, both of them are double-sided. Each side has a different texture. Now, depending on what type of sharpening you're doing, the grit, is as it's called, is what you're going to look for. Now, the grit is the texture of the stone. The lower of the grit, the rougher the stone will be. The higher the grit, the smoother the stone will be, much like sandpaper, because essentially that's what we're doing. We're sanding an edge onto our blade to make it razor sharp. So today I have two different style stones, but they're both whetstones. One's a little more coarse than the other. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the coarse blade, and as we work our way down, we'll refine it with the finer stone. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to soak our starting stone in the water for a few minutes to let all of the bubbles get out. Now this is just a stone I picked up at Walmart. They're very cheap, guys. Just put it in your water bucket. Make sure it's submerged and let it sit. So I'll be back with you guys after this sits for a few minutes. Stay tuned. Okay guys, now that this one's had a chance to soak a few minutes, what I like to do is, since I'm going to be using more than one stone, I'm going to take this one out that we're going to be using and go ahead and put this one in the water to soak. This way, by the time you're done with this stone, you'll be able to move on to the next one. Okay guys, so for the sake of this, I'm going to start with my EDC Everyday Carry Blade. Now this is nothing special, this is just a mossy oak knife that my wife and kids got me for Christmas, but I do like the feel of it, I like the build of it, I like the blade itself. Over time, I've nicked the blade a little bit where you can feel it. Now it does have a good edge on it, but once you get to about right here, there's not much of an edge. So we're going to try refining that, and today I'm going to show you how I've learned to do this using a wet stone. Now we've soaked the stone, we've got it nice and wet, the other one's soaking and bubbling. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the blade this way as we slide the blade across the stone, letting the knife and the stone do most of the work. So keep it at a 45-degree angle, put your fingers in a safe area, and slide. Just like that. Or you can do it to the side, however you're more comfortable. But all you want to do is slide that blade across that stone at a nice 45-degree angle. Now you might say, Infantry, well, what about the other side? Well, of course you're going to do the other side. Turn your blade over. Some people do it left-handed, which is recommended because you are moving it away from you. You always want to keep the blade moving away from your body. Slide it across that stone from one end to the other. And if you want to do it evenly, you count 5 on one side, 5 on the other, 5 on one side, 5 on the other. It's 5 and 10, 10 and 10, however you want to do it. And again, let the blade and the stone do most of the work for you. Now this is something you guys can do with your fishing knives. You can do it with your hunting knives. I always carry, when I go hunting or camping, I always carry a stone with me, because to be honest, you never know when your knife is going to be dull. It's just something that we always overlook as outdoors people, is to keep a sharp blade, but it's really something that can save your life. So you really got to kind of think about that. And you can actually feel a nice sharp edge. Now be careful when you guys do this that you don't cut your fingers, but you do want to feel, what I'm feeling is the individual grooves of my fingerprints across that blade, and I do mean literally the individual grooves. So that's how sharp you can literally get these on a sharpening stone, almost to the point of a razor blade, and in some cases even to a razor blade. There are other techniques known as strapping, where after we've done all of this, you can take a leather strap, and that's what barbers used to do back in the day. Because remember, before grinding wheels and before all of these fancy sharpeners that don't work, this was how they did it. And you just keep doing this until you get the result that you're looking for, which is obviously a razor sharp blade that can cut through anything. So keep in mind, this is just my EDC, something that you guys want to keep sharp all the time, obviously, because it's on you. So get yourself a sharpening stone. Do this a few times a month. Just make sure that that edge on your blade stays crisp and sharp and always ready for action. And that's how you do a small knife like this. I don't know if you guys can see, but we've got a nice edge all throughout the blade. And if you keep doing this with your tools, they will always stay sharp. They'll always keep that nice edge. And even if you get like a little roll or you get something out of there, you can take the stone and just go like this and work it out. Again, this is something that does take time. It does take a lot of time in some cases, and it's worth it in the end, because you know at the end of the day, your tools are sharp and ready for action. So there's my EDC pocket carry. We're going to move on to a slightly bigger version of something that I carry when I go into the woods that many of us do carry, and that is our survival knife. So let's check that out. Okay, so we're talking knives, bigger knives. Is there any difference, Infantry? No, not at all. Does not matter if this was a sword, knife, razor blade, pair of scissors. The same techniques apply no matter what blade, knife, whatever you're sharpening. With a whetstone, it's always done the same way. Again, you're going to take your knife, start at one end of the stone, and slide it across. Slide it across. Nice and even, nice and smooth. Working that blade just as you did the smaller one. And you want to try to do one smooth motion. The smoother the motion that you do, the less imperfections you'll have along your blade edge. But that's how we do a large knife like this. You know, our survival knives, swords, anything of that size that are bigger than your EDC pocket carry. It's all done the same way. Now, obviously, some knives have two edges. You do the same thing on both edges, but just make sure that you don't, when you're bracing with your finger, you don't hit that sharp edge and cut yourself in the process. So that's how we do larger survival knives. Let's move on to one of the most important camp tools that we carry, our axe or hatchet. Okay guys, so one of the most important tools we always carry camping is an axe or a hatchet. Of course, it gets us our firewood, it pulls our tent stakes, it's a hammer, it has a lot of uses all in one tool. So this is my hatchet I've had since I was in Cub Scouts as a child, and it's been through some stuff. I try to keep it as clean as I can. I just dug it out for you guys, but as you guys can see, there's virtually no edge. Now, this will split wood, it will do somewhat of a job, but nothing like a good sharp edge. And when you have a sharp edge, it makes cutting 10 times easier. So this is why I say it's important to keep our tools ready for work, ready for use. And I'm going to show you yet again how to do an edge on a hatchet or axe or some cutting tool of this type. Same exact principle applies. This time I'm going to go to the rough stone because this really has no edge. So we're going to put it on here and do the same thing from one side of the stone to the other side of the stone. Now with this, I'm going to put a little bit of pressure because there is no edge on here anymore. It's old. This was a hatchet left down to me from my dad. He gave it to me when I was in Cub Scouts. So I've had this hatchet many years. It has been on many campouts. Started many fires. A lot of good times in this hatchet. And it's something that, if you guys take care of your tools, this is something I hope to pass down to my boys, you know, in the future. So same thing, a little bit on both sides. And it really is this simple, guys. I mean, it's so simple. Your blind friend here can do it. It's all something that's done by feel. You just take your time. You'll feel where you have spots in your blade as you start to sharpen it. You'll feel rough spots as you're sliding it across the stone. And those are areas that you want to work on a little bit more. And if you take your time, like I said, you can reshape this blade back into what it looked like when it first came out of the box. Or even better, because as we all know, when we buy things off the shelf, they're not very sharp. The factory edge that tools come with really is not made or designed to go right out and use it. So keep that in mind. If you buy a tool, if you buy a hatchet, you buy a knife, you buy anything. I mean, even your fishing hooks. You can do this with your fishing hooks to sharpen your fishing hooks. Anything that comes factory direct sharp usually is sharp, but not sharp enough. So just because you bought it, you might still want to sit down and refine that edge. Get that factory cheese off of there. Get that coating off of there. And get that edge razor sharp, because it'll make the world of difference when you're out in the field versus the edge that you get out of the box. It does take work. But then, of course, we're going to flip over to the other side of the stone and continue the process. So that's how I was taught how to sharpen all of my knives, my axes, my hatchets, my swords. Pretty much anything with an edge has always been sharpened in my house with the use of a whetstone. So I hope that this helped you guys out. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you've never used a whetstone before, I encourage you. It is a little time consuming, but compared to some of the quick sharpening products out there that I've found that only dull out my knife. This is a guaranteed process that as long as you take your time and as long as you work on that edge, you will end up with a razor blade hatchet, knife, whatever you have, it always stay razor sharp. But for this tips, tricks, and techniques, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up, share it out, let people know what we're doing. And if you haven't tried the All Abilities Challenge, guys, I'll link it up here in the card above. Just make sure you video your outdoor activity doing the challenge and send us a link at infantryoutdoors@yahoo.com or drop it in the comments of our All Abilities video. Well, guys, that's all I got for you today. Thanks to the sponsors, thanks to the viewers, thanks to the Patreons, thanks to everybody. You guys are all family here, you know that. So until our next adventure, I hope this and all of my adventures inspires you to get outdoors. We'll see you next time here on Infantry Outdoors. Take care, guys.
Infantry Outdoors is sponsored in part by RealTimeBait.com. 100% customizable soft plastics made your way. Shop today at RealTimeBait.com. Lady B with the National Motor Club. Drive protected, drive with the Motor Club. Grant Herbal Products. Live a healthy life. Shop GrantHerbalProducts.com. Silver Connections Group. Improve your social media. Get better Google rankings. Or start your new website at silverconnectionsmobile.com. And buy donations from viewers like you.
Legends never die.